Hello, this is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you 4 different ways to close a mug rug. So number 1, the first way will just be using an easy way, which is easy for some and not others, because sometimes it doesn't always make that nice crisp edge, but it's just covering the back and then flipping over for binding. So these 4 mug rugs have been prepared. We just don't have a backing on them. So number 1 is cover the back and flip the binding. And we're going to do 4 different ways. So I've already prepared 4 mug rugs. There's my sticky note for number 1. Cover back and flip for binding. And then sticky note number 2 says pocket fold, where you take 2 pieces of rectangular pieces of fabric, fold them and make a pocket. Sticky note 3 says cover front and leave slit to flip. And then sticky note number 4 says traditional binding method. Alright, so let's start with number 1. Number 1 is the cover the back and flip for binding. So what you do is you take a piece of rectangular fabric that's larger than the mug rug, and you roll the sides or fold the sides 1, 2, and then clip them in place. So I start with the top, and I folded it over like 2 or 3 times until I have a nice little edge, and then on the bottom I fold it once, fold it twice, and then fold it the 3rd time over the edge of the mug rug. And then I go ahead and use my clips. Sometimes I call them pins, but I use my clips and I go ahead and clip them in place to hold the spot. But then for the sides, before you fold over the sides, you're going to have to fold in the corners. I recommend probably 3 or 4 clips for each one of those sides. So here I am kind of making triangular sides. And I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And I fold it in once, fold it in twice, and then the 3rd time gently overlapping on the mug rug. We want to make sure we cover up all that batting, and that when we sew it, that the batting won't show through. So whatever I did on the other side, I also need to do on this side. So I'm folding in the corners. Got a little extra string there. Sometimes I'm a little messy, but trim that away. Fold in the corner, fold in the corner, fold it once, fold it twice, and then the 3rd fold you gently overlap to the front of the mug rug and clip it in place. So this is number 1 way to do it. There's 4 different ways to go close the mug rugs. And this pattern that you see, I have another video on how to assemble that mug rug if you're interested, and I can put the link for that information in the comments below. So this is mug rug option 1, how to cover it. And what this option does is it kind of gives it a binding look. Kind of looks like the traditional binding, but it's not. So then we're moving on to option 2. Option 2, we're doing a little differently. So option 2, we're going to do the fold over method. The pocket fold. And what the pocket fold entails is using 2 rectangular pieces that are folded in half. And so this is the left rectangular piece. And you want to kind of center the folded part into the middle area. and then you fold over your other rectangular piece. This method is pretty easy, but I feel like when using this method, you're also using up more fabric than the other ways. And then you probably want the center to slightly overlap about an inch. That way it doesn't open up in the center when you fold it over. And then what we're going to do is sew around the edges. And I recommend that before you sew it around the edges, maybe go ahead and pin it in place. And usually 3 or 4 pins will do it. Maybe put one in the middle so the pocket fold doesn't get caught on the needle while sewing. So when flipping it around, you will sew around the edges all 4 sides. I would also recommend removing any excess fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and trim the left and the right side because I have extra fabric that we will not need. Oopsie, there's another piece of string I need to remove. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and look for my corners. I did trim down the corners a little bit on each edge so it doesn't get all lumpy. And here we go. We're going to go ahead and turn it inside out, just like a pocket. It is a pocket fold in the back. And then we're going to gently poke out those corners a little bit. And I think I need something to help me. And I like to use what I call a bone folder. And I think I got this bone folder, the pink one, in my hand from Oriental Trading. But you can find bone folders on Amazon too. If you like, I can add a link to some bone folders on Amazon. I also sell personalized bone folders on in my Etsy shop if you want to check it out. So I'm using the bone folder to kind of press out the corners. I've got a lot of little string and fabric pieces all over the place, but there we go. So this method doesn't really leave the binding around the edge, but this is the option 2, the pocket fold method, which may be easier for some people. You don't have to worry about uneven lines as much. So there we go. Now we're moving on to number 3. Number 3 is cover the front with a nice solid piece of fabric in a rectangular shape and then leave a slip to flip. I do recommend doing a little fold on the bottom, but before we add that piece of fabric up, there you go. So what I did is I went ahead and I sewed on the rectangular fabric to the front, right sides facing each other, and then I left the fold on the outside, and here I am turning it inside out, and I left a little opening on the bottom of the mug rug. Instead of the pocket fold, it's like one giant pocket, and with the folds I'm pulling it out through the fold. And I find that this method is less wasteful with fabric. So if you're short on fabric, this is probably a good method to use. And it looks like I'm going to need my bone folder to get those corners out again. Kind of poke them out. And I like using the bone folder because it's not super pointy, where it's going to poke a hole through the corner, you know, unlike other things like needles and whatnot. So the bone folder is definitely a safer method. So now that we have the opening on the bottom, you gently want to fold it in on both sides, the front and the back. So fold them in so you can hide that uneven edge or that rough edge and have a nice folded seam. And then once you have that in place and pressed down, you could even use clips to hold it down. You're just going to kind of sew around the perimeter or border of the mug rug to give it a nice little crispy edge. And again, this method does not show a binding method on the outside. It's just the front and the back. And here you can see that I sewed it down, and you can't even tell. I just sewed around the perimeter, the edge of it. And this method is not wasteful at all. And then maybe just clean up those little pieces of string or whatnot. So here we go. Look at it, looking nice. Last but not least, we are moving on to option number 4, which is just the traditional binding. So what you do is you kind of quilt. You make like a quilt sandwich. You sew together the front, the middle, and the back, and then you pick a binding, which I have some pre-made binding. It's 2.5 inches folded in half. And what I'm going to do is just kind of put that around the edge of the mug rug. But the binding part is a little tricky because you have to close it at the end. And there's a special way you kind of place it. You have to fold it forward and then sideways, creating a little triangle on the corner so that it folds over nicely onto the other side when you flip it and sew it. So for this method, I would probably look up another additional how to close your binding video. And there's some really cool ones on YouTube that you can watch. I have some of my favorite ones that I've used in the past that I added to my blog at simplystephaniestuff.blogspot.com. And if you just type in binding on the top right corner, it'll take you to some very helpful videos that I've used in the past. So here I am just placing my binding around the perimeter or border of my mug rug. And then every time I do a corner, I kind of fold it over. And so fold it over each other, right sides facing each other, and then do a gently fold to the right, creating a little triangle in the corner. And this will take practice. And so this one I always use with all my quilts. I do the traditional binding when I make my t-shirt quilts or any kind of quilts. But it's not my favorite. I feel like this one involves the most work. But you definitely get the traditional look with this method. I kind of forgot to turn off the TV when I was making this video, so next time I make a video, I'll make sure to not have the TV running in the background because I find it super annoying, but I also don't want to have to redo all these. little mug rugs, and so it is what it is. And I think you can still hear everything, but it's just kind of a guide just to show you that there is more than one way to close the binding. If one way doesn't work for you, try another way and see which one of these ways works best for you. So when you are ready to close the binding, you have to do, I guess, away from each other, the left and the right 2.5 inches, just like the same as the width of your fabric. And what you're going to do is you're going to have the right sides facing each other in like a plus sign symbol or an X, and then you'll have like a little triangle piece to cut away at the end, and you can remove that. So once you have the binding sewn to the front, you can flip it and clip it. So what I did is I went ahead and I sewed around the front, allowing me to flip it around, and I placed some clips to show you how it's going to look like once it's completed. So this is option 4, the traditional binding method, and so now I've shown you all 4 ways to close your mug rug, and here they are, all 4 of them, looking great. Option 1 being the cover the back and flip for binding method. Option 2 being the pocket fold with the 2 pieces of rectangular fabric. Option 3 was cover the front and leave a slit on the bottom to flip it like a giant pocket instead of the 2 pocket fold. And option 4, the traditional binding method after sandwiching your mini quilt or mug rug. So here were all 4 ways. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope that this video is helpful or was helpful to you. And if if you enjoyed watching it, please subscribe to my future videos. I am no way an expert. I consider myself a novice, but we can learn together, and most of these videos are for my friends and family to help them learn what I've learned so far. And as we continue this journey, I think all these videos will just get better and better. All right, well, thanks for watching today. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.